So, DC here. Hi, guys and gals. Well, it's Saturday afternoon and relaxing a little bit. Mrs. DC is out working, as she often does on the weekends, and first weekend after the big trip back from Africa. I thought I'd chat about one thing that I will probably get on a little bit as I put on those snippet videos as it goes, but was all our traffic issues. Let me see if I can zoom this in just a little bit. Here we are, just a little bit. Okay, so all our traffic issues. So we had a Peugeot 804, I think was the model of the car, and it had been used. It's been in Africa for a few years. I mean, it's our friends that had it and had it moved over. Okay, let's start off. First problem that we had was the air conditioning stopped. So that's a problem actually in Africa. I mean, if you don't have heating in the middle of the winter in Canada, that's a problem. If you don't have cooling in the middle of Africa when it's about 40 Celsius outside, that's a problem. You can't open the windows, but don't forget we're going on dirt roads with dust like you cannot believe. Okay, anyway, so we had that kind of repaired. I say kind of because it never finally stayed repaired. But anyway, so we were in Abidjan, so that's this town of 8 million people, and we're going off 350 to 400 kilometers. It's hard to say exactly how much, because where we were going was not in Google Maps, by the way, and into the bush. Now, when I mean the bush, I really mean, with the dirt. They don't call them roads, actually. They call them the trails. But they're wide enough. They're actually not that bad. I've had worse dirt roads in Canada sometimes. Anyway, so we're off. First problem we have on the middle of the highway, and I do have a video that will be coming of that, is a complete blowout of the back wheel driver's side. Now, we're lucky it was on the back wheel, because when it blew out, we were like on the passing lane, which actually has no meaning in Africa, or at least in Côte d'Ivoire whatsoever. So our driver managed to get us to the side, and it was not, a flat tire. It was a complete blowout. Okay, so we changed that. About 30 minutes later, he knew like some side road where there was some, I have a video of that. There was like a kind of a garage somewhere where we got a brand new used tire that was put back onto the rim so that we would have a spare tire. So we're going off. We go down at one road, which is basically used to be an asphalt road, but I don't know how many years it has not been asphalt anymore, because there's just enough asphalt left to make it dangerous. And there's ravines and everything. I tell you, you cannot, if ever you can go on YouTube, I think, and you can look Dimroko to Bakanda, and you will see it's something that looks like, I guess, something that once was a road. So we got like 50 kilometers to do on that one at one point. And, well, all of a sudden, big noise. It was our muffler that came off, but at least in the right side. So we didn't have wire. We didn't have anything to tie it up, so we were driving along slowly. We got two police controls. When I mean police, actually I should say army controls. They've got like these, they've got barriers with nails, so if you go by, you don't have any tires left. Motor guns and whatever, the whole deal. They ask you for your license and so on. And they say, you got a problem? You say, yeah, we do. So they saw it wasn't something so bad, so they let us go on. Let me just move on. So what do we have for problems? Well, at one point, we were in the middle of the bush. This is the same trip going on. The car stopped. It stopped. It just couldn't go on anymore. No power. And we were, you know, I'd say in the bush, but we were right next to a village that nobody spoke French. That's the language over there, and the administrative language. But nobody spoke French. They all spoke Baoulé. And they were half dressed, you know, and bending down in front of us, and very honored to have us over. Finally, we got a wire. We managed to get things going again. By the time we got to the village, the car died. And I really mean died. It didn't move any further. It was the connection between, in French it's the cardan. I don't know how it is in English, what it's called in English. But it's basically between the gearbox and the wheels, you know, that thing that makes the motor communicate with from the gearbox to the wheel so that you will move. So that was dead, broken. That had to have come over. And when it came over, it wasn't the right piece. It wasn't the right model. But the Africans made it work, so to say. So when we later on continued with the car, well, all of a sudden we didn't have any brakes anymore. So we ran out of brakes. Oh yeah, I forgot. Our power steering died. So we were driving without power steering, without brakes, and the electronics went out. I forgot about that. The electronics went out. So we couldn't open the doors and the windows and back except for from outside. Really nice if you might turn over, you know. So here we are going along. What other problems do we have? Well, let's see now. The starter died, and that was in another town. We couldn't start mostly, but since our African colleague knew how to hotwire the thing, usually he got it going that way, until basically the dynamos and the starters and everything died. So that happened in another town. And by the time we got back to Abidjan, we actually the pulley with the straps broke. Anyway, we just stopped in the middle of a dirt road in this 8 million population city, but they have dirt roads there. Yeah, and then a taxi came along, luckily, which was the right size for all our baggage. So, you know, we, like I say, many times in the bush we had these really big car problems, but every time that something happened, we were next to a village, so we managed to have the village people come and help us push the car or whatever. The biggest problem we had was in a town, though, when we were gassing up, and like I say, then the starter actually died. So then when we left that town, we had to leave and not stop the car in any way, because then we were really out. And that was like 400 kilometers away. Oh, you know something? It's really different. One thing, though, is that we're coming up to the limits. The Africans are really, really good. Probably in the same way as the Cubans are with really old cars. But now with all the electronics, oh yeah, the catalyst died at one point, and didn't die. That's where the limits are. I think I mentioned that in another vlog, is that because the electronics died and they just like kind of put things together, there wasn't the right communication, so it wasn't saying what you should do. So the catalyst was saying, slow down, basically one of these things. You know, I'm not a mechanic. And so it was like killing the power. So they had to stop the electricity there, but they stopped it elsewhere. It was just like, you know, take away anything that's electronic, and these guys can repair anything. But as soon as the electronics get in, one failure creates another one, because they repair it, but they create one or two other problems. Oh, it's one of those other worlds. So now we're back. It's really nice. It's really nice. We've been fighting actually for the week, Mrs. DC and I. We've been taking like probiotics to get our digestive tracts back into kilter, and that's too much information. But if you go to Africa, you know what I mean. And that's it. That'll be a little kind of talking about the trip vlog, and I will have a bunch of snippets. Okay, DC signing off. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a good Saturday. Bye.